Hi guys, welcome back to another video and to my Eastman T64. So I've had this for like 3.5–4 weeks now, so I thought it'd be good to jump on and do kind of what I normally do with my Eastmans, you know, the first month, how's it been, how have I kind of been using it, what have I noticed about it. So what we'll do first, we'll just, rather than do sort of pre-recorded sound bites, we'll just do 10 minutes of just plugging it in, seeing what happens with the pedal board, and I'll show you some of the sounds and tones I've been able to get out of this thing, because it's such a fun guitar to play. And then we'll come back and I'll go over some of my thoughts with the guitar, and like I said, how it's been for the first month. So let's hear some sounds on it first. Alright then, so let's get some sounds out of this thing then. So let's wind everything up to 10 and just show you the kind of bass tone that I've got. It's my usual kind of past the point of breakup, nice fat warm kind of. You know, a guitar tone that I just really like. Same on the neck. Now that gives us a good chance to see how well we get cleaner sounds without messing with the amp and stuff. So I mean, that for a clean tone, you've still got the warmness of it kind of thing, maybe through the hollow body nature coming through. Let's do some of the neck. But, you know, I couldn't be happier with how that sounds as you roll it off. It just sounds amazing. If we do some sort of acoustic-y things on the bridge just alone. Suck at Travis picking, but hopefully you get the idea. It's an acoustic-like nature, even, you know, through the amplifier sort of thing. Let's do a similar thing on the neck with fingers. And it just feels, even that with everything backed off a little bit with your fingers, it feels like there's dynamics there. It just feels absolutely awesome to use, kind of thing. So let's go to sort of bridge wound up a bit, but with a pick. It just, to me, it just sounds absolutely awesome. So let's stack a little bit more gain kind of on top of that. So we'll go from. And a little bit more gain as well. It's not kind of losing its character. I've got a lot of gain stacked on there, pedals wise. There's 3 gain pedals all staged together. And I wouldn't, that's not something I would do with this guitar, but nonetheless, it's still kind of keeping some character. I mean, let's check a phaser on it as well. Get some of those sort of. Whatever that is. And you can back off the phaser and go back to your fingers. it's so dynamic and responsive to your fingers. I'll go up onto the neck pickup there with a bit again. You know, it shouldn't be liking that much gain, but it's still so full of character. Let's kind of go to the middle and clean back up a bit more. Put a bit of delay on it as well, why not? Because you can kind of get into some kind of Gretsch-like territory kind of thing. You know, all of that sort of stuff, and turn the phaser back up. And to me, it just, you know, how far do you go? This is what I've been doing with it, just messing around with a few pedals and sounds and just finding what's in it, and it's so fun to play. I'm just doing all this in one take off the bat to kind of put that across rather than pre-record sections, because there's just so much in it, and you just find yourself always looking for something and messing around. And what else have I got down here? I know I've got a longer kind of slap back. Put a bit of drive back on there. So, you know, there's just a couple of sounds out of this thing. So let's sort of get on to how I found it over the last kind of 3 or 4 weeks. That's probably a big clue though, all of that. And a couple of drawbacks that, well, potential drawbacks that I've noticed with the newer or later run of Eastman guitars as well. Having owned older ones, I can kind of compare them, you know, at quite a deep level sort of thing. So let's get on to that. All right then, like I said, that was just kind of a one take. Let's just throw the camera on and sort of take you along getting sounds out of this, kind of like how you do in a guitar store sort of thing. But hopefully I did enough to kind of get across just how many sounds and stuff are in this thing, and how kind of fun it is to just sit and play and experiment with messing with the controls. And because obviously you've got the fully hollow nature of the guitar, the whole time you're playing it, the thing's just, I mean, listen to it acoustically, just obviously on the phone mic, but if we compare that acoustically to say a Stratocaster or something, just because it's right next to me. You can tell that, you know, one naturally is way more alive in your hands and in the room than the other. That being said though, I've had no real issue with noise or unwanted feedback when I'm going through the amp there. There is though a tiny bit of a louder basic noise floor. It could be the room I'm in. This is a very small room, there's a lot going on, there's a full kitchen right there with ovens and dishwashers, and the power in here could just be a little bit dirty, and this is emphasizing that kind of thing. But I think naturally, you know, you do expect a little bit more of a noise floor increase with a guitar like this. But in terms of, you know, playability and everything else, obviously I've had it, you know, I've gone through it and set it up the way I like it. I'm back on hybrid strings as well. Tried it on 10s for a while, and even with the short scale I still preferred the hybrid, so that's what we've got on. One thing to note with this guitar is the neck joint here is at the 17th fret, whereas on a 335 or the 59, my other Eastman, it's more like the 19th, meaning the neck is more this way. So with this guitar, if you want to start playing up here, I'll go from like 3rd and 5th to what's that, 19 and 21 as quick as I can with a pick, and you'll see my hand will struggle to get there. I mean, I'm just playing non-musical nonsense there just to prove the point of, you know, playing up here is not really going to happen. So, I mean, most of you will know that, I'm sure, but it's something to bear in mind if you're thinking of this or the 59, because they're very different, but visually they're both as appealing. And where the neck joint is different, you know, that neck is closer or further away. So this thing to sit and play, well, anywhere up to the 15th is so comfy because it's a bit closer to you. But if you do a lot up here, this you're going to struggle with that big time with this guitar. The other thing, since we're talking about necks, the profile of this T64 is much more sort of 50s Les Paul like. It's slightly bigger, and the T59 is a much more modern, not small, but definitely slimmer than this. So that's another thing that might surprise you as well. You might think they'd have similar neck calves, but the 64 is definitely a little bit bigger. So I've wrote a couple of points down here just to make sure I don't forget, because my brain's a bit funny just lately with a few issues. So just trying to keep myself on track a little bit. So yeah, in terms of comparing them then, so obviously I'm not going to compare this and the 59 or the 56 in this video, because I kind of want to hear from you which one of the Eastmans, if you followed me up to now with Eastmans, do you want to see this thing compared against? Because just sort of briefly, like I said, the difference between feel on the 64 and 59 with the neck and that, but the 56 has these same P90s in it, except for their soap bars, not dog ears, and yet they sound completely different. Now obviously one's solid body, one's fully hollow, but this thing, it just seems to, it's a more earthy rock and roll sound. The 56 is a little bit cleaner, and it doesn't like you stack in too much gain on it, whereas this thing, it just seems, it's more rock and roll. It seems the more overdrive and gain you wind on, it just seems to take it and keep all of its character and clarity. And I just love that about it. Strumming rock and roll kind of chords and stuff on it when you've still got that clarity with the drive, it's just a massive amount of fun. And when you switch to your fingers, you know, when it's plugged in with a bit of gain, the amount of dynamic range and stuff like that it gives you is just unreal. So obviously I didn't go into this guitar blind. You know, 2 years ago nearly, I borrowed my friend's one, and we did compare that against my 59, which was new at the time, and I knew I'd love this guitar straight away. Some of you watching probably remember that video, and you know, I always knew I was going to love it, and the thing just has not disappointed. But his one, I think, is a 2020, so his is 4 years younger than this, and his was perfect out the gate, just absolutely perfect. So as with some of my other Eastmans, I got unlucky with the nut on the 59, as you might have seen. But this thing, we've got no issues with the nut, we've got no issues with the frets or hardware or pots or anything like that. But, and I'll bring the camera in a sec and show you a close-up, I have noticed some tooling marks that are totally acceptable, but they are definitely there. I'll put in a close-up as we go, but there's just a couple of tooling marks actually on the ebony itself, and where the neck joins, it is a relic finish, but you can tell what's just QC and what's relic. It just stands out. And there's a couple of little bits where it's not the relic, it's just, you know, someone's gone a bit AWOL with a scraper or something. And that hasn't been the case finish-wise on my other Eastmans or his or any of the older ones. It's very minor, but you know, I'm here to tell you the truth. So, you know, it's worth noting because they weren't there before and they are now. I can see them as I scan the guitar, just little bits and pieces that where the QC or the I don't know, the attention to detail has fallen just a little tiny bit, but it is very small. I'm telling you, just out of 100% kind of transparency, it makes no odds whatsoever. It's noteworthy. And the other difference that I've noticed with modern Eastmans, and nothing to do with the guitar, is the case. Now I picked up this, and obviously they gave me the case when I left, and I didn't think anything of it. It looked like the same case to me, but I own older Eastmans, and the case, again, I'll bring up a shot as we talk. The newer cases are significantly different to the old cases, and you can tell there's been some cost cutting because the material of the case is, I would say, probably 40% thinner, and then the wood underneath that feels like a much lighter wood as well. So that the case quality throughout the padding and the hardware of the case itself, you know, the wood that makes up the strength of the walls, I can tell they've cut some corners with the cases there. So again, nothing to do with the guitar, but if you bought one 5 years ago versus if you bought one now for the same price or less money even, then you know you've got a better case than you do now. So it's just little things like that that owning older Eastmans I kind of pick up on. But you know, like I said, that is just getting into the nitty gritty, you know, stuff that doesn't really matter, but at the same time isn't nothing kind of thing. You know, it's worth mentioning. But that's kind of my thoughts and experiences just in my first couple of weeks with it. And as we go forward, as I've done with all the other Eastmans over the last sort of 2 years, you'll see it on other videos, and I'll come back with a more, you know, in-depth report when more time has passed. So hopefully you like this kind of first impressions video. And with regards to the comparisons, I can compare this to the 56 on video. That's the one I think would be most interesting for me personally, because I haven't done that really in depth myself yet. Or I can compare it to the 59, which we kind of did do before, but we'll compare it now with, you know, the current setup sort of thing. And it's just up to you. You let me know which one you want to see it compared against, and I will catch you soon for another video.